Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living. I'm Suzy Vance, and I'm with Becky Simmons, who is in charge of the Salvation Army in Michigan City.
Along with my husband. We do
Along
it
with
together.
your husband.
Yes.
Oh, well, maybe he should have been here too. That's okay. I bet you can speak well for both of you.
Yeah, it's a partnership.
That's, how nice is that?
It is.
Do they often let that happen in the Salvation Army?
Very often. Matter of fact, it's more typical than not. However, throughout our career, we've probably been in separate appointments more often, which is odd.
Really?
So we're kind of the odd couple in
So
many
you're
ways.
working on this.
Yeah, yeah.
A work in
So,
progress.
It is. It is.
So Becky,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how did you get into this?
It's
Did
been
you
in
ever
my
think you were doing this when you were when you were a little girl?
It's been in my blood since birth.
Really?
My mother did this. She was a Salvation Army officer. And then when she decided to get married and have kids, she decided to stop being an officer because she wanted to focus a little differently. But she still attended the Salvation Army as her church. She loved it. She was passionate about the things we did. And we grew up with that knowledge. And so that's kind of how I came into it.
And how many of you grew up with that knowledge? How many of you in
Well,
your family?
There's 4 siblings. However, it was just really my youngest, my sister, I'm the youngest, and then my sister that's next to me, who really continued in the Salvation Army. My brother was 16 years older than me, and my sister is 18 years older than me.
And they're off doing something else.
Yeah, by the time we came along, they were.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, did you think you would be doing this when you were a little girl?
I don't know as much as a little girl if I did, but as I kind of came into teenager, I was like, I think that's what I wanted to do.
So what does the Salvation Army do?
What don't we do?
I know.
Yeah. As I was growing up and decided that this is what I wanted to do, I also decided that I wanted to, first of all, go to college.
Okay.
And when I went
Always
to
a good
college, always a good decision, always. A lot of people can take a lot of things away from you, but they can't take your education. Once you learn something, you know it,
Mm-hmm.
And that is so key, and that's something that my mom always taught me, that get your education, So I went to school and got my bachelor's degree in sociology,
Mm-hmm.
and then in order to be a Salvation Army officer, you have to go to seminary with the Salvation Army. So after I got my bachelor's degree, I went on for another 2 years of college, just because, I guess I liked it. I don't know.
Where did you do this?
Our seminary, the Salvation Army Seminary for this area, is in Chicago.
Okay.
And it's right on the corner of Addison, and it's in between Halstead and Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
So just a couple blocks from the Cubs Stadium. We could hear the Cubs games easily, and sometimes slipped over there when we probably shouldn't have. And so we were right there by the Cubs Stadium for 2 years doing our seminary. So we call that a training school.
How did the Salvation Army get started?
Well, William Booth is the founder of the Salvation Army, and he was a Methodist itinerant preacher. So the Methodist church would send him out on a certain route that he would go on and preach in different communities that did not have a permanent pastor.
Uh-huh.
And he did that for a while, but he just really felt like something was missing. And so then he started ministering in London, England, where he found a lot of people who just needed to know about Jesus, And so he told them about Jesus and got them saved and brought them into the Methodist Church. And in England during that time,
Yes.
church was of a certain socioeconomic group.
Really?
Yes, it was not for people who were poor or people who were simple. And so William Booth was kind of kicked out and said, you can't bring those people in here. And so he said, well, then I'll start my own church.
Right.
And he started what he called the Christian mission. And it only stayed the Christian mission for a very short time. And then he turned it into the Salvation Army.
How did that occur to him?
Well, during that time, kind of the military method of things was very popular in England.
About? What time are we talking
1865.
about? Okay.
And that was very popular. And so, somebody had referred to it as, you're putting together an army for Christ. And he said, no, we're putting together a Salvation Army. And so that's kind of how the Salvation, it just kind of stuck and it went on. And so he started the Salvation Army, but his real philosophy is you can't tell somebody about Jesus if their stomach is hungry, And sometimes you need to fill their stomach before you fill their heart and soul, and before they're ready to receive what you have to share. So just a very practical ministry, He believed in soup, soap, and salvation.
I like that.
Yeah. So that was the history of it, and it grew very rapidly. It spread to France very quickly, and then also spread to the United States very quickly. And now we're in over 130 countries throughout the international world.
Wow.
And so it's a really big thing, and we look very, very differently in every country, and even in every community we look very differently.
So what would you say the focuses are in Michigan City?
Well, the mission of the Salvation Army is simply put that we meet human need without discrimination. And so because the Salvation Army wants to meet human need, we make sure to look at what is the need in this community and what is happening here. So in Michigan City, we have a very large food pantry. We serve about 500 people a month. And we do that in a lot of different ways. We have a day once a month where we only serve seniors. And they can come and get their food, and they can get an extra senior box that they receive. And we load it up for them and make sure they're all taken care of. And then we have about 9 of those seniors that we have on a delivery list. So we have a volunteer who comes in and takes our van and goes out and drives way out into some of these far out trailer parks and everything, and make sure those senior citizens are served.
And where do you get the food?
Everywhere. We get food everywhere. The special senior box comes to us from the Northern Indiana Food Bank in South Bend. And then we also get food from USDA, which comes via the food bank also. We purchase a lot of our food, and we purchase most of it through the food bank because we can get kind of wholesale bulk prices from them. But nonetheless, a food order that we place each month can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. So big grocery bill.
Yes, that's true.
So even though we get it at a very good price and discounted, we're still spending thousands of dollars every month to make sure our pantry is full. And the biggest majority of that is on meat. That's our biggest cost. So, and then we also have food drives. Most recently in Michigan City, we had the postal food drive.
Right.
And
I know
we're
I participated.
we're still sorting that out and organizing it and making sure it's going out the door.
And that's where people take food that they have that's probably non-perishable.
Yes.
And we put it in our post office boxes in front of our houses, and the post people
come pick it up.
It's amazing.
And bring it to our
what
building.
What a collaboration you have with
really
the post
great.
office.
It's really great. And they do a great job, and they love doing it every year. So we really appreciate our postal carriers in Michigan City and how they get behind it and everything.
That's good.
What's unfortunate is when people put expired food in there.
Do you check?
Yes.
Good.
This year we're checking very closely, and we have even a volunteer in our office right now going through and writing expiration dates on every can, and those that are expired were
pitched.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that the postal carriers have to bring something to us that we're not going to use. So Make sure you're putting something good out there so that people can have
What do you
something
do
good.
about fresh food, like fruits and vegetables and things like that?
So we have some grants that we get from a couple different providers. We get a small grant through Franciscan Health Alliance with their SIP program, and we get some money from Michigan City Enrichment Corporation. And so we go out and we buy fresh vegetables and fruit every week, and we buy them from the store, just like you and I would. And we believe that's really important because so many of our folks, sometimes feel like they can only get the least and they can only get the worst. And we feel that people are worth the best, and so we make sure that we get them the same fresh food that you and I would go get, and that they have access to that. So often we will have cabbage or lettuce, celery, and carrots, and trying to think of some of the other peppers and onions.
Tomatoes.
Right now we have
Cucumbers.
a huge amount of tomatoes. Yeah, those kind of things that people can really eat and get used to eating, because those are such vital foods that you can't get out of a can, And where we are located directly in the middle of 3 food deserts. There's a kind of a food desert on the east side, a food desert on the west side, and then a food desert kind of in the downtown area. With those food deserts, we sit right in the middle of all 3, and so we feel that getting that fresh produce out and that fresh store-bought items out is so important and so vital to people's health. For so long we expected people to live on canned goods and dry goods, and we have such a big, huge issue with diabetes in our society now, and poor eating habits and all that kind of stuff, because we just haven't in the past provided that, but it's just so important that we provide that.
So what has been the most exciting thing that you have done in this last year at the Salvation Army?
We have a program that I love called Friday Night at the Sal.
Called what?
Friday Night at the Sal. And it's just a fun evening that we have planned for our families who can come in and just enjoy being families together and just enjoy being kids. And it's just really powerful, because I think, in small cities, you don't have the entertainment that big cities have, and you don't have all the things to do that a big city offers. And even, when we were kids, what was our entertainment in small cities? It was going to church, it was participating in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, or, those community-based things.
Right.
And so we just really need to be offering community-based programs for families to make Michigan City an exciting place to grow up, and a special place to grow up. Because if we don't give kids places to be and things to do, they're going to find it.
Right. And not necessarily where you wanted them to be looking.
Right. So we may as well just, give them the great things to do in Michigan City. So this last month we did Michigan City's Got Talent, and we had groups who got up and danced and sang and did some great things. The month before we did Disney karaoke. And there was one girl who just took over the microphone, and she was in heaven, singing her Disney songs and everything. We've done other things like Family Feud and glow dances, and just a whole bunch of things. We always serve a full meal during that, so that families can come and just, sometimes for a mom, just even if it's a simple meal, a meal that mom doesn't have to cook. That's huge for mom, know, especially in today's world of high grocery prices and everything. So we provide a full meal that they can eat and go home and put the kids to bed, So it's just a really great program. And then that's always the third Friday of every month. And then we've now added on the first Friday where we do essay gaming. And it's just where the kids can come and play video games and board games and some other games that we come up with. in a safe environment. You know, so many parents are concerned about their kids being online and being in these games in unsafe ways. And so, you know, we're setting up a safe place for kids to do it. And so that's really
fabulous.
important. So
That's wonderful.
I just love to see the kids come in and how excited they are, you know. And there was one day I was at Walmart and I was going down the aisle and I really wasn't paying attention to who was around me. And this kid walks past me and says, "Can't wait for Friday night." And I looked over, I'm like, "Hey, I'll see you there." So he was excited. So
That's fabulous.
yeah.
That
But that's
means
one
the
of the
word's
fun
getting
programs.
out.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep. So that's a fun program that we do, and I love it.
That's great.
Hmm.
And if people want to help, how can they do that?
You know, always with the Salvation Army, you can help by volunteering your time. And you can go to our website and click on the tab that says Volunteer in this community. You can help by coming and participating. You can help by donating and giving to the Salvation Army to support the programs that we do. So, I mean, there's just a ton of ways to give. And we just appreciate how Michigan City supports us.
That's fabulous. I'm so happy you're here.
We love being here. We love being here. So I grew up in a small town like Michigan City, you know, and it just really reminds me of my hometown. And
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Burlington, Iowa, which is right on the Mississippi in between Iowa and Illinois, and you can almost see Missouri too down in that corner. So, but it was a small town similar to Michigan City where you could get on your bike and ride all over town and get on the city bus and go somewhere, and you know, it was just a great city to be in. So I think Michigan City's the same. It's just a great city to be in.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing.
No problem. I love to. So,
All right. Okay.
Thanks.
Rebecca Simmons. Becky Simmons. Chief Becky. See you next time. Suzy Vance, Creating from the Heart, The Artistry of Living.